Really, this house is charming. It gets such good light. Indeed. I want to start living here as soon as possible. While my in-laws laughed cheerfully, Farrell also nodded in satisfaction. Although we came to preview our new home, I hadn't expected it to be such a luxurious residence. As my in-laws and Farrell went ahead with plans on their own, my anxiety grew. Are we really going to buy this house? Unable to hide my confusion, Linda, our agent, quietly said to me, "Ma, let's talk in another room. There's something about the contract we need to discuss." Surprised by Linda's serious expression, I nodded. Led to a separate room, I was filled with anxiety. I thought she might press me for an immediate contract. However, what she said was completely unexpected. "You should run away immediately." What? Confused by her unexpected words, I asked, "Run away? What do you mean?" "I'm sorry for startling you so suddenly, but I've witnessed something." Linda began with an uneasy tone. The content of her words was shocking. "My name is Pamela Moore. I am 32 years old this year. My husband, Farrell, is the same age as me, and while we don't have children yet, we are seriously discussing buying our own house soon. I have been longing for the charm of a downtown apartment, but Farrell prefers a detached house with more privacy. This is particularly because of Farrell's parents. My mother-in-law, Hazel, is 65, and my father-in-law, George, is 66, relatively young for elderly people, but both have physical disabilities, so their lifestyle needs adjustments. When Farrell was a high school student, his family experienced a traffic accident during a trip, resulting in light injuries for him but severe ones for his parents. Hazel, his mother-in-law, hurt her back, and George, his father-in-law, sustained an injury that significantly impaired the function of one of his legs. Due to the accident, his parents were forced to quit their jobs, and their lives changed dramatically. After graduating from high school, Farrell worked diligently to support both the care of his parents and their livelihood. This demonstrates how deeply he values his family. We met through a mutual friend when we were 26 years old. My first impression of Farrell was that of a sincere person who valued family above all else. He always prioritized his parents, sometimes to the point of being overprotective. At first, I was a bit concerned that he might be worrying too much, but as I learned about his past, I understood why he acted this way. His kindness and deep love for his family attracted me, and I gradually developed deep feelings for him. Our relationship deepened gradually, based on mutual understanding and support. Eventually, our relationship developed, and we got married. Through this process, Farrell has been seeking a detached house that would allow his parents to live more comfortably. Considering he is an only child and the health condition of his parents, it's easy to see that his desire is well-founded. However, I have always felt a slight reservation towards his parents, and as time passed, I began to feel that my intuition was correct. Looking back, I had a subtle sense of discomfort from the day we introduced ourselves for marriage, 3 years ago. The first time I visited his parents' home, I was greeted warmly by Hazel. "Pamela, welcome. Our home is modest, but please make yourself comfortable," she said. "Thank you, I replied as I slowly stepped inside. I noticed her struggle with walking, just as Farrell had described before. Shortly thereafter, George appeared from the back of the room. "Pamela, nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better," he said. But he staggered as he walked, clearly struggling with the burden on his leg. This showed how the traffic accident had long-term effects, making work difficult for him. However, they were managing to make ends meet with the insurance payments they received. Understanding this background, I began to realize the source of the unease I felt. Seeing their condition, I was truly glad that I had brought the pizza we had bought in advance. Despite their physical inconveniences, my in-laws tried their best to provide a warm welcome, and I was deeply grateful and wanted to reduce their burden as much as possible. When I placed the pizza on the table, Hazel exclaimed with joy, "I'm sorry for having you prepare such a wonderful treat. Thank you so much. Let's eat right away," she said, reaching for the pizza without hesitation. I was a bit surprised to see them eating so eagerly, but their genuine expressions of joy warmed my heart. At that moment, Farrell jokingly exclaimed, "Hey, both of you starting without us? We're starving over here too." Hazel quickly responded, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's just that I haven't seen such delicious-looking pizza in so long I couldn't help myself. But don't worry, there's plenty for you and Pamela too," she answered with a smile. As she did, she placed a can of emergency food on the table, saying modestly, "I'm sorry, it's just this." George also smiled and thanked her, saying, "Thanks, dear." Seeing my surprised face, Farrell asked me, "What's wrong, Pamela? You look so shocked." I hesitated and muttered, trying to find the right words, when Farrell suddenly stood up, realizing, "Oh, I forgot the drinks." "Look, I've brought them," said George, carrying a tray with glasses for everyone, walking with a bit of a stumble but making a determined effort. "Thank you, Dad, Mom. I'm sorry, I should have prepared this." As I took the tray, I was shocked. The glasses were worn and some were cracked. The contents were just water. I saw my father-in-law fetching water from the bathroom earlier. Could it really be just tap water? "Thank you" was all I could manage to say. Eventually, my in-laws ended up eating almost all of the pizza I had brought, even though I had intended for it to be shared among all of us. They were holding the pizza box, repeatedly saying it's delicious, and ate very quickly, creating an atmosphere where I felt I couldn't join in. Farrell had no problem eating the canned side dishes. I had brought the pizza wanting them to enjoy it, which was fine, but the canned food was unexpected. When I happened to pick up a can, I noticed it was nearing its expiration date. I ignored it and continued to eat silently. I could hardly taste anything. Seeing my silence, Hazel expressed concern and asked, "Did the simple meal make you feel sick?" "No, that's not it," I replied. "You can be honest with us. Farrell told us your family owns a lot of land, so you must be used to a different level of cuisine. I'm sorry, we can only provide something so modest." At first, I felt like she was being spiteful, but it seemed she genuinely believed that. I was even more confused about how to respond. "It's not like that," I replied hesitantly, as Hazel looked at me weakly. "I'm sorry. Farrell might have told you, but we are physically disabled. That prevents us from going to the supermarket often, and we can't provide as much hospitality as we'd like. It's frustrating to think about what we could do if we were more able-bodied." George nodded in agreement. Faced with their remarks, I found myself at a loss for words. "It's enough, really, thank you so much." It was clear that despite their physical limitations, my in-laws were doing their best to make us feel welcome. With their inability to work, it's understandable that their lives are more frugal. We only had canned food and tap water to make do with. Although I prepared pizza for everyone, it was somewhat unsatisfying to see it quickly consumed by just the two of them. Yet Farrell didn't seem to mind, and I felt it might be inappropriate to say anything. In the end, I left their house still harboring that dissatisfaction. Later, as we progressed with our wedding plans, Farrell apologized with a serious look on his face. "I'm sorry, my parents can't contribute financially to the wedding expenses." "It's okay, we were planning to use our own savings anyway, so don't worry," I responded cheerily. I had already advised my parents to refrain from contributing too, fearing it might embarrass his parents if only one side offered financial support. Consequently, we decided to have a modest ceremony. Afterward, I received a call from Hazel. She apologized for not being able to help with the wedding expenses and said she wanted to send some home appliances as a gesture of her goodwill. Despite my reservations, she insisted on sending them. A few days later, several large cardboard boxes arrived at our house, which surprised me with their number. Upon opening them, they were packed with vintage appliances that were no longer on the market: old vacuum cleaners, a faded microwave, and other clearly well-used items. I also noticed the cracked cups and dishes that I had seen during our marriage introduction visit. All these had come from my in-laws' home. What kind of joke is this? I was at a loss for words. Seeing Farrell happily appreciating the gesture. "These appliances were used in your mother's house, weren't they? They look quite old," I pointed out reflexively. "Well, they still work, and we should be grateful," Farrell replied with a satisfied expression. Despite my surprise, as a matter of courtesy, I expressed our gratitude. I reluctantly contacted my mother-in-law. "The appliances have arrived, thank you." "Oh, they've already arrived? Those are things we've cherished for many years. I couldn't bear to throw them away, thinking they'd be useful to you newlyweds. You need appliances, right?" Her cheerful voice only increased my dissatisfaction. "However, many of them are quite worn and some do not work. We appreciate the gesture but plan to purchase new ones." "That's such a waste. It would help you save money." About saving money. "I really wanted to buy you new ones, but it's difficult for us. It's hard for us to get around, so we gave what we had at home." If they were worried about money, they didn't have to send anything. Moreover, my mother-in-law must have mentioned this to Farrell because he approached me about it. "Pamela, I heard you complained about the appliances. My parents went out of their way to send us household items. don't take their intentions lightly. I didn't mean it that way. This made me feel like the villain. I ended up having to use the old appliances. This wasn't how I envisioned enjoying our newlywed life. It's a situation I find hard to accept. But I kept telling myself that they were considering finances in their own way. Then, Farrell proposed buying a new house. I have always dreamed of having my own home. Normally, this would be exciting news, but Farrell seems to want a home that could accommodate living with his parents in the future. I'm troubled by this idea. Reflecting on my past interactions with his parents, I feel uneasy. I wonder if it's really okay to live together, given their priority has always been saving money, which is why they sent the old appliances. Initially, I thought they were trying to help in any way they could, but I began to doubt their intentions. Later, when I visited my in-laws' house, I noticed that all their appliances had been replaced with the latest models. This raised many suspicions in my mind. I had heard they were financially struggling, but was that really true? They used to say they couldn't go shopping due to difficulty in getting around. However, nowadays, it's easy to make purchases online without needing to visit physical stores. This made me think that perhaps they just repurposed their old appliances as a wedding gift for us. I couldn't bring myself to tell Farrell, but I felt anxious that living together might force us into a frugal lifestyle. Furthermore, considering their situation, I felt that a new construction was out of the question. I was worried that they might suggest choosing a low-cost, aging house. Contrary to my concerns, they seemed to want a solidly built home. In fact, they were already looking at some properties. Seems like things are moving along, I said, perplexed. Yes, I took a drive last weekend and found a wonderful new property that I really liked. Farrell responded as if it were obvious. Why didn't you tell me about this? I felt left out and downhearted. Discussions about the house I was supposed to live in were being made without my knowledge. Feeling dissatisfied, I decided to go see the property. Farrell, his parents, and I headed to the real estate agency. On arrival, the agent quickly approached us. She was a young and attractive woman. Her business card read Linda Martin. "Ma'am, nice to meet you. I am Linda, and I'll be handling your case." Farrell had arranged a car for us to go see the property together. Inside the car, my in-laws were chatting amicably with Linda. It seems the new house is a ready-built home in a high-end area. I had a vague sense of unease. Eventually, our car stopped in front of the property. It was a luxurious single-family home with a spacious yard, clearly in an upscale neighborhood. We went inside and toured the layout while in the living room. My in-laws were very excited. "Really, this house is charming. It gets such good light," they said. Indeed. I want to start living here as soon as possible. As the conversation progressed, I felt anxious and couldn't help but interrupt. "Excuse me, but this is my first visit here." "Oh, is that so? My apologies. Here's the brochure." I was shocked when I saw the brochure. The price was clearly beyond our budget. it was likely a house we could not afford. Nevertheless, my in-laws and Farrell seemed eager to pursue this property. As I was sweating with confusion, Linda was staring at me, her expression suggesting she had something to say. Holding the brochure, I pondered how to handle the situation. Soon after, my in-laws started walking towards the terrace. Farrell joined them to provide support. They were deeply engrossed in their conversation. Then, as if she had made up her mind, Linda turned towards me and whispered quietly, "Ma, let's talk in another room. There's something about the contract we need to discuss." Surprised by her serious expression, I nodded. She led me to another room, and I was filled with anxiety. I thought she might press me to sign a contract immediately. However, what she said next was completely unexpected. "You should run away immediately." What? I was confused by her unexpected words. "What do you mean, run away?" "I'm sorry for startling you so suddenly, but I've witnessed something," she began, looking uneasy. What she revealed was shocking. It turns out that Farrell and his parents had been coming to this property previously. According to her, during those visits, his parents walked without any assistance. What does that mean? My in-laws are supposed to have difficulty walking. I couldn't understand. They always seemed to struggle with walking. That's why working was difficult for them, and shopping was a challenge. What on earth? I only managed to say that. Would you like to see for yourself? She suggested peeking through a slightly open door to observe the three of them covertly. Indeed, my in-laws were walking on their own. They weren't using any canes or assistance. Why? Why would they pretend to be unable to walk? This could be evidence, so you should record a video, she advised. Her calm voice echoed. Evidence? What exactly? I'll explain in more detail later. Following her instructions, I shakily took out my phone and recorded a video of my in-laws walking. I just stood there, stunned. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. According to her, it seemed that my in-laws were pretending to have mobility issues. Therefore, she had recommended housing that was accessible for disabled persons. This house can have ramps installed, which would make moving around easier, she had suggested. To this, my in-laws burst into laughter. "Oh no, we don't need anything like that," they said, and started walking briskly away. She did not understand why they were deceiving her. However, the reason became clear later. When it came to providing mortgage documents, it was revealed that the contracts were being processed under my name. Here are the necessary documents. The documents clearly had my name on them. As she discreetly listened to their conversation, she overheard a shocking discussion between them. After all, it's best if Pamela pays for the loan. We've been pretending to be injured. We did receive a significant amount from the insurance, but we've almost used it up on the new appliances we bought. Mom, you're being too direct. But that's what we've been planning all along, isn't it? Find someone from a wealthy family. While my mother-in-law was nonchalant, My father-in-law also seemed satisfied. Farrell kept his promise, didn't he? Pamela trusts you as completely. A kind-hearted, wealthy person is easy to manipulate. Learning the truth, I was astounded. My in-laws had deliberately pretended to have mobility issues to fraudulently receive insurance money. Farrell was aware of these facts all along. After she had let me hear that conversation between the three of them, I was silent for a while. I had never imagined that I would be the one paying the mortgage. In fact, my family owns several properties, and I had mentioned this when I first met Farrell. However, our lifestyle is very ordinary. My parents have always encouraged frugality, and we don't own expensive items. My income is not substantial. I'm just a regular office worker. I had never dreamed that being a landowner would make me a target for Farrell's advances, thinking that it meant wealth. Overwhelmed and unable to react, Linda apologized to me. I'm truly sorry for bringing this up so suddenly. No, please don't worry about it. On the contrary, I appreciate you telling me, I replied emphatically, noticing her expression darkened. The matter is not yet concluded, she continued, and what followed was even more shocking. Farrell had said, "We'll need to draw on Pamela's resources moving forward." And his mother had added, laughing, "Hey, next, give her a little nudge. I'll teach her how to pretend to fall and claim long-term medical expenses. She'll surely be delighted to learn how a little pain can bring in money." I was horrified. They intended to involve me in their fraud. What do you mean? They were speaking as if it were merely a push, but the intention was clearly to cause injury. The thought of being coaxed into committing such deceit was unforgivable. I'm sorry to bring such distressing news, but I felt it necessary to tell you. This is a clear criminal act, and it could harm you as well. She spoke with evident concern in her voice. The implications were hard to believe and even harder to accept. Witnessing the scene firsthand, I saw my in-laws walking boldly. My name was on the mortgage documents, and there was Farrell who had deceived me. The shock made me dizzy, and I stumbled. "Are you okay?" She caught me just as I was about to fall. I had to pull myself together. As my real estate agent, she had courageously revealed the truth. I had to take some action. "Thank you, I'm fine. I was just startled by this unexpected revelation. I have no intention of engaging in fraud, and now that I know the truth, I cannot simply ignore what my in-laws are doing," I declared firmly. My determination was clear to her, and she nodded in acknowledgement. There was no time to waste. We immediately discussed the next steps to take. After that, I hurriedly left the building through a different exit while she distracted my in-laws. Using the excuse of feeling unwell, I messaged Farrell that I was heading home ahead of him. Once home, I quickly started gathering evidence. I searched online for the date and details of the accident my in-laws had mentioned, and information about the insurance company and the doctors treating them. As soon as I was prepared, I decided to notify the insurance company. I raised the issue of fraudulent claims and explained the details to their Special Investigations Unit. I also made sure to attach and send the video I had recorded today via email. As a result, the insurance company held my in-laws criminally responsible, and they were arrested. It later emerged that the injuries they had sustained in the accident were indeed minor. Nevertheless, they had exaggerated their symptoms to continue receiving insurance payouts fraudulently. Normally, insurance companies are very vigilant about the potential for fraud in cases of traffic accidents. I had been wondering how they managed to deceive the audits, but the truth was eventually revealed. Shockingly, they had conspired with a relative who was a doctor to forge medical certificates, exaggerating minor injuries as severe ones. It's unbelievable. Of course, that doctor was also arrested. This doctor had previously been flagged by the insurance company for irregularities, which led to their swift arrest, along with my in-laws. In the end, they were just a greedy family. It went beyond mere frugality. They were criminals. And Farrell, who had overlooked all this, was essentially complicit. I brought everything to light and filed for divorce. However, Farrell did not accept this and opposed it. He claimed it was all a misunderstanding and pleaded with me to at least meet his mother. I could not understand what he thought was misunderstood. I had no desire for a reunion, but there was something I still needed to say. Together with Farrell, I went to the prison where his parents were being held. Due to the gravity of their crimes, they received indefinite sentences without the option for fines. As a result, my in-laws were incarcerated. Stepping into the visiting room, I saw that his mother already looked dispirited. Separated by an acrylic panel, I fixed a sharp gaze on her. "Mother-in-law, you've been committing fraud for a long time, and you intended to involve me as well? Why would you do such a thing?" Her response was feeble. "What do you mean, such a thing? There was really an accident, and initially I truly was incapacitated. But even as my condition improved, I thought we could benefit from continuing to claim for medical expenses." I was astounded that she didn't seem to recognize the criminality of her actions. I responded firmly, "What are you talking about? That is clearly a crime. It's incomprehensible that you would coerce me into wrongdoing." At that moment, Farrell interrupted. "No, it was just an easy way to make money. It was a mistake, but I thought you'd understand, considering how your family has wealth and lives comfortably. You get it, right?" Fed up with Farrell's flippant attitude, I reached my limit. "What? Don't mix things up. Both my parents and I work honestly. We don't think about making money through crimes. This is unforgivable as a human being. Please never contact me again." At my forceful words, both Farrell and his mother were visibly shocked. The true nature of Farrell and his mother was clear. I had never imagined they were such terrible people. They only thought about making easy money and exploiting others. Even after being arrested, there was no sign of remorse. Feeling that I could no longer deal with this situation, I left Farrell behind and walked out of the prison. I would never come back here. Afterward, I proceeded with divorce mediation. It took time, but the divorce was eventually finalized. Farrell resigned from his job as his parents' arrest became known at his workplace, making it uncomfortable for him. His whereabouts are unknown to me now. Presumably, his parents are living quietly after their release. I never thought such unscrupulous people really existed. For a while, I couldn't even think about marriage. I decided to focus on my career and switch to a new job. That's when an unexpected encounter happened. I met a kind man who understood and accepted me. He understood the hardships I had experienced and offered comfort. While I hesitated about moving forward, I trusted his character. However, lessons from my previous marriage had made me cautious. He tried to alleviate those fears by introducing me to his parents. His parents warmly welcomed us and served elaborate dishes. I felt genuine joy at this seemingly ordinary kindness. His parents, too, were gentle and broad-minded, just like him. I was confident I could feel safe with this family. As a result, we got married and were able to lead a peaceful life. Over time, the topic of buying a house came up between my husband and me. I took him to the real estate agency I recommended. It was the agency where Linda worked. Thanks to her support, I was able to see through the deception before, and I am deeply grateful for it. As we entered the real estate agency, a familiar face greeted us. "Welcome." "Oh!" She seemed to have recognized us. I responded with a smile. "Hello? It's been a while." She was as energetic as ever. The new business card she handed me had Chief written on it. Feeling her growth and experience brought me genuine happiness. When my husband was not around, she kindly said, "It's really great that you found a good partner." "I'm really grateful that you told me the truth back then." "Thank you." My smile widened. We decided to build our new house through this real estate agency where she works. It was a decision made after wanting to somehow repay her. I'm sure this time my ideal home will be realized. Thinking about our new home naturally brought a smile to my face.